Okay, one of the things I want to cover on this session is how do you salvage an old painting? How do you save a canvas is too expensive, too valuable to throw away. So how do you save it? So what I'm going to do with this one is show you how to paint a new painting over the top of an old painting. Now, fortunately, this painting doesn't have a lot of texture on it. This was a painting done a while ago. It's got a few little lumps and stuff, but I think I can hide those in the new painting. And then above this, right here, a painting of Upper Payette Lake in Idaho is the painting I'm going to paint over the top of this. Now, the first thing I do, you know that when I start my paintings, I like painting on a wet surface. So I usually start with a toned ground. On this one, I'm not going to tone it, but I am going to put a coat of Liquin, of paint medium. You could use, Liquin, you could use walnut oil, you could use a number of things. I prefer to use Liquin. I just put a coat of Liquin over the whole thing and then wipe it down. This Liquin kind of provides the glue that glues the new painting down to the old one. I put the Liquin on, then I'm going to fold up a paper towel, wipe it down good. I want my canvas wet, but I don't want it super wet. If there's too much Liquin on here, the painting will start running off the surface as I'm painting it. So I don't want to scrub it with the paper towel enough that that the fuzz starts coming off of the paper towel. But I want to get a nice layer of Liquin on there, but I don't want it standing and wet. Okay, now I'm going to, just as if I were starting a new painting on a fresh canvas, I'm going to now start with my drawing. I'm going to use my cool mud. So I'll start now. I'm looking up here. I imagine my thirds are already in here. I'm going to start now. I'm looking at this edge right here where the water in here meets the horizontal part of the composition meets the vertical part. And then down here, the shoreline that's here in the foreground, I'll sketch that in. It can be a little difficult to paint over an old painting. It can be real distracting. So one of the things I do is I'm painting a fairly simple painting over the top of this, so I can kind of keep track of my shapes. So this peninsula comes out, comes over, and then I've got these tree shapes, and a lot of these tree shapes go right off the top. I want to quickly as I can get a lot of the old painting covered, so I can start to see what the new picture is going to look like. And this is just my cool mud that I'm scumbling everything together. I'm not worried at all about color. I just want to to establish the composition. And this stand of trees goes all the way over to the end. I'm not too worried about being able to see through the paint yet. When I'm blocking in, I want to paint opaque. But when I'm just sketching, it really doesn't matter. Okay, I've got those tree shapes blocked in. I've got the foreground down here. The lake comes around this little peninsula, and I'm going to put the other side of the lake right about where the horizon line was on the old painting. Then I've got a line of trees in the background here. Sketch those in. And when you're doing this over an old painting, it's good to work pretty fast because you're really wanting to get rid of the distraction of the old painting. Okay, I've got that. Then there's a mountain in the background on this, so I'm going to just come across here. That mountain comes out, slopes down to the edge, but what I want to have a little slight uptick on the end. If I have too much of a downhill slope, the viewer follows that slope to the next painting in the gallery. So I want to have a little stop here with a tiny uptick. I'll maybe should sketch in some of what will be the areas of reflections in the water. That way I get a little bit of paint on here. I won't lose track of where the water is. So anyway, there's my painting sketched in over the top of the old painting. These foreground trees are green. I'm going to take some mud, some of my cool mud, and I'm putting blue and yellow in my mud. I want a really dark This is foreground, so I want a real dark, cool green. And so now I start looking, being a little more careful with my shapes. Before, basically all I was really interested in was the overall composition, simplifying my shapes as much as I can. Now I'm looking at a little more at edges. I want these trees to probably get a little darker as they come down to the bottom. As they come down to there's less light at the bottom of the trees, and I'm just going to keep. And I'm not trying to really refine these trees. That will come later. What I'm trying to do right now is just get the silhouette of these trees blocked in. So now I'm getting up into this area where there's some breaks where the sky will be. So putting in a few little narrower trees in here, leaving a few little areas for the sky and for the mountain to show through in the sky, so it isn't just a solid bank of trees. I've got to come all the way across. This is where a lot of my students tend to get lost. They stop and start painting trees. They see variations in color in the reference photo, or if they're outdoors, in the outdoors, they start seeing variations in color and they start trying to put it in at this stage. At this stage, all you want to do is put in silhouettes. You're basically reducing the picture down to a few shapes. Most of my paintings that really turn out are somewhere between 5 and 7 basic shapes. And what I'm doing right now is I'm working on one shape, and I'm not trying to be very neat with it. I'm just getting the overall shape blocked in. Okay, so there's my darkest shape. Now I'm going to put down here in the foreground, I want to draw the viewer, I want something to draw the viewer in and complete the perspective. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this dark paint down here where you really don't see much dark. These will be undertones when I start painting that area. My next shape is my background trees. I step back a little bit. So what I'm doing now, I'm pretty much using the same color, or I'm mixing into the same color. I'm putting in some white and blue. And I think I've taken too big of a step in value. So I'm going to throw a little more blue, a little more mud, a little bit of green. I want these trees to be just a little bit lighter and a little bit bluer than the trees in the foreground. See, if I touch the colors down here, then I'm able to, I don't start out here and work back towards here. I start right in here where I can see exactly what the value shift is. And again, I'm not trying to, there's a lot of detail in those trees back there. There's a lot of light hitting them. There's a lot of color variation. I'm ignoring all of that. All I want to do is get my basic mother value in back here, which is I want this lighter and bluer so that I can see that this stand of trees is behind this stand of trees. Now the next thing I'm going to go up. Now I'm going to add a little more white to that. And I'm adding a little more red into this. And I'm starting down here. I'm putting in this background mountain, and I want it to be a little bit purple. I'm adding a little bit of. I haven't put. There's blue in my green color that's already there. I think I'll put a little more blue in that too. I want this to be kind of a bluish purple silhouette here for my mountain in the background. Again, I'm not worried about any kind of detail on the mountain right now. All I want to do is get a silhouette in that I can work with to make I want this mountain to be, half a mile away. So it's got to be a little lighter. Now I'm coming in here and putting a few little points of that. I'm taking the same color, and as I put it in, it's kind of mushing it into that green. It's getting a little darker. I want it, when light comes through these little spots in here, it's a little darker than there because there's less light coming through it. Okay, now see, I can start now to see the old painting is disappearing, and now I can start to see the new painting. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is put in the reflections here of the trees. Now, in the photograph, the reflections have a little bit of a brownish color. So I'm taking some cool red and some cool yellow and putting it into my pot of color there. I think that needs to be. I'm going to put a little mud, a little more red in it. The reason for this, the reflection, this water is very, very shallow in here. So this reflection is picking up the color of the bottom of the lake. It's picking up the color of the bottom of the lake, which is diluting the actual reflections. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this color of the trees and work some of that in here, just so that I get some interesting variation in these colors. Now, if this were really deep, clear water, these reflections would be much darker. But because it's shallow, there's light hitting the bottom of the lake and bouncing out. Now I'm going to going over to the other side now, where these trees are back here. In the photograph, there's no reflection of these trees back here. But I'm going to go ahead and put the illusion of some reflection in there, so I can make my water look a lot more interesting when I start putting the surface tension on. And I'm making those reflections a little lighter as well. Now I'm going to go in, I'm going to take the mountain color and complete the reflections. Now there'll be a lot of surface tension over the top of these, but this helps me to see the water. Okay, so now I'm turning the corner. You can actually see the new picture more than the old picture. I've got my foreground vertical darks. I've got here, I've gone to here, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. Now I'm going to do my horizontals. That a little darker. I'm taking some blue and mixing it into some of my green and putting the first stage and the shadow is running over to the water. So I want to get some areas of shadow that will be under the trees. And the shadow area is a little bit, it's dark, it's cool, but it's horizontal. It's a little bit lighter than the trees themselves. I've got that stage, and now I'm going to block in where the sunlight is hitting. Now, I'm still going to use cool colors because I'm going to hold my warms in reserve. Right now, I just want to model these surfaces, or I'm not really modeling the surfaces. I'm just putting in silhouettes of color. See, now you can start to see the land coming down to the water, the land that's coming out into the sunlight, and this will create the base for that land. And a little more yellow. I want this to be a little lighter here in the foreground. So I'm going to come over here now and just start dancing my brush around a bit. Now you see here in the foreground there are grasses and things, so I can bounce my brush around to kind of get the rhythm of some of ththese grasses in the foreground. Back here it's too far away to see the grasses and things, so I'm keeping all of my brush strokes back there horizontal. I want to emulate the lay of the land back there, but when I get up here in the front, I want to trick the viewer into seeing grasses and weeds and things. So there now, so you can really start to see this picture is now really overpowering the picture underneath. So now I need to decide what to do with the sky. I kind of like the color harmonies going in here, so I think I'm going to try to work with this sky color a little bit. I'm going to take some white. I'm going to take a little bit of cool red and cool yellow. And again, this is, the light is in the sky, but I want to hold my warm colors in reserve. So this is a mixture of some white with a little bit of cool red and cool yellow. And see if this may or may not work. I don't know. Now I'm going to go a little bit redder as I go up. And see how this works. See if I think I'm still kind of liking it. But now I am going to go. Let's see here. First thing I should do, well, I've got a little bit of this red. I'm going to put a little bit of my warm blue in this red and start making the transition that's up here above the clouds. I want that to have a little bit of my sky color in it. So I'm going to kind of a warm blue. I want a little bit of the light, see some of this light streaking up here. Now back here I'm getting too far away from the light, so I probably wouldn't have much red over in here. So that's coming together pretty good. Now I need to, now I'm going to mix a purple that sky is, I really like the color of that cloud, but I need to get some wetter paint into it. So it's a little bit light, add a little bit of color into it. And so now I'm not I'm really close to my trees because I'll end up getting the sky dirty. But I just want to get some texture and wetness to that cloud. So I'm kind of liking that sky. Soften some of these edges down into here. Okay, so there. So I think, let's see here. I think maybe I need to darken since the light source, I've just basically changed my light source from the left to the right. Now since now I'm going to, as my sky is moving to the left, it needs to be a little bit darker and cooler as the sky goes away from the light. So I'm just, some of these little spots in here, I'm adding a little bit of cool blue into these little areas of sky between the trees. So I'm kind of liking the way that purple is looking in there. Now I've got the purple here. I'm going to bring some of this purple up a little more so that it continues back behind these trees a little better. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do, I've got my sky done. See, I always block in from front to back, and then I finish from back to front. If you're outside painting, the sky changes real fast, so after you blocked in the sky, you finish it right then, because in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the sky is going to be a whole different animal. So now let's see here. Now, I guess my sky isn't quite done. I've got to get my brush cleaned out really good. I'm going to take some really clean white. I'm going to take a little bit of warm red and warm yellow. And I'm going to just streak some warm color in here. Just a few streaks of warmth. But I want to keep it fairly subtle. The sun is back there, but it's not poking at us. It's just back there somewhere. So now I'm taking some white. I've put a little more red in my warms, and now I want to see. I'm back here. I think my sky color is somewhere, or my mountain color. See, I'm kind of cooling my mountain color down, or warming it up a little bit. And what I want to do here is just I'm using some warm color to kind of get the light hitting this mountain a little bit. I'm losing my edge here. I've got my value a little too close to the sky value, but I think I can remedy that. But you know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea to throw some of this in, so there's just a little bit of that color in the water. That's a good idea. Okay, now what I think I want to do, I'm going to put just a little more color in this, and that's too yellow. The problem with yellow, if you get your color too much yellow, it takes on that ugly mustard look. Now, I want this side of the mountain. Now, if I squint, this mountain, you can see, is a little tiny bit darker than the sky. And the reason for that is the sky is the source of the light. The mountain is reflecting light. So the light on the mountain is going to have a lot less power than the light in the sky. And now down in here, let's see, I just want to break up some shapes down in here. I want to have some nice rhythms and things, something for the viewer to use to create the picture. I don't want to create the picture. I want the viewer to create the picture. Let's see if I can come in here and let's see if I can get the value just right. I'm going to put some upright brush strokes here. See if I can get the illusion of some areas of timber. So I'm just taking the things that stand up are dark. So I'm taking just a few of these darker brush strokes to try to create the illusion of forest back here, especially when I get up to the top of that mountain. And maybe I'll a little bit see that those keep getting a little darker and a little darker as they come forward. Get a little bit more. I need it to be a little bluer. So see, I'm getting the illusion a little bit. It's starting to work. Getting trees here, and then if I want this mountain right here to look timber covered, I can just do a little sawtooth top to that and bring it down across into here. And so I think I'm getting pretty close to calling that mountain done. And now that leaves, see, I'm working my sky first, it's the furthest back, then my background mountain. I probably should put a few little brush strokes in here where I'll have light kind of poking through these trees. Okay, now I've got to go to this, and I've decided right now these trees might be just a little bit too dark. I'm going to mix a new color here, and I want green that has a lot of blue. I have to use some white. I'm going to tone it with just a little bit of red. I've found that if I use red in my greens, they look a lot more natural. Now let's see, I think I'm going to take a different brush. I want to get a little finer control. So I'm going to, because I want to get some nice spiky tops on this. See, I want to be able to get so it actually looks like tree tops poking up. And I want to keep this fairly I want to work quickly so that everything has a nice spontaneous feel to it, because I'm doing dark and these spikes are going over light color, and it's much easier to put light over dark than it is dark over light. So the underneath colors keep washing out the value. So now come down here in front. There may be a few darker trees down here in the. Let's see here. Can't get that dark enough. So anyway, down here I want to. So I want a slight value variation and things, so that when the viewer looks at this, they think they're seeing individual pine trees, when in fact they're just seeing streaks of paint. And now I'm going to go over here, and I'm picking up some of this lighter, warmer color, and I'm just going to throw, if I can do it. Let's see, I want that a little darker than that. I want to throw just a few little highlights, so there's light hitting the tops of some of these trees. And I'm using the color of the light, not the color of the trees. Okay. And then I think I'm going to take some purple, and the shoreline back here is, the light's not hitting it. The light is back behind the shoreline. So I need to have it cool. It's got to be a little bit lighter than the tree shapes because it's laying flat. And see, and what I also, another thing to point out, the shoreline almost disappears over here. I don't want to direct the viewer over here. I want to direct the viewer to this side, so my color of the shoreline will be a little bit lighter as it comes in. I want greater contrast here, so I'm pulling, see, I've got a big tug to the outside of the canvas here, so I want to now have some tugs to pull the viewer back into this area. So there. So now I've got the shoreline. I've got the sky, the mountains, the trees, and the shoreline. The more I can keep my steps organized, the freer I am to create. I use the same process pretty much every time I paint. I block in from front to back. I finish from back to front. That way, I never really have to ask myself what to do next. I know which step I'm in, so I know where to go next. Now I've got to get back into my cool mud. I'm mixing up blue and yellow into my cool mud. Now I said before that my greens always look a little better when they have some red in them. Well, my mud is already a mixture of red, blue, and yellow. So the red is already in there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm putting a little, this little tree that's kind of out a little bit on its own from the rest of the forest. And I'm starting up here at the top, and see now I'm more interested in finessing the tree. Before I was just interested in getting it very loosely blocked in. Now I want to to actually play with the personality of the tree. And what I want to do here, let's see, pine trees are not symmetrical. They're balanced, they're rather conical in shape, but they're really not, especially here, with these little trees here in Idaho, they're not really, let's see, this color's a little wrong. There's not a lot of water here, so the trees are a little starved for water. They're not really lush, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So they're kind of spindly. The trunks show quite a bit. And now since I have a darker background behind the tree as it comes down, I need this tree to be quite a bit darker here at the bottom. Touch a little more up there. Okay, and then I'm going to take some of this color I've been using and just drag it straight down into the water. And now now that I'm going on, I'll keep going into this forest now. And I'm not so much, now I'm getting into an area where I'm not so much concerned about individual trees as I am collections of trees. So I'm working on the rhythms in my brushwork more than anything else. But I'm still staying, so far, I'm staying with, even though this is a whole lot of trees, I'm just refining my silhouette at this point. I'm not doing individual trees. I will start doing individual trees, or doing the differentiation between the trees, when I'm putting my highlights on. Right now, all I'm doing is getting the rhythms of a forest, with kind of being aware that I'm painting individual trees, but the forest is more important than the trees at this point. Again, see, I'm differentiating the trees at the top, but when I get down into here, down into the body of the painting, I'm running the trees all together. And up here, all I really need is a lot of really irregular brushwork. Is really all I need up here. If I try to paint a lot of individual trees, my painting will take on a very amateurish quality, because I'm not a good illustrator. What I want to do as a painter is hint at things. I want to create rhythms, interesting brushwork. I want to create brush strokes that will cause the viewer to create the painting. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with some of this, and I'm going to just streak some of this down here. Like I said, this is shallow water, so it's a little lighter than what the reflections in deep water would be, just as dark as the trees. But this is it's clear water, but it's kind of a muddy bottom. So I don't want that to be really, really dark. Okay, so now my light source is coming from the right, back there. So now I want to put some highlights on these trees. So now I'm taking some warm yellow, I'm taking some warm blue, and that makes me kind of an electric, you can see that's kind of an electric green. So I want to take just a little bit of red. The red gives it just a little more of an olive look. And play with it here, and then I'll test the color right there. It's a little, I think it's a little too light. It's I want this highlight color to be, it's got to be lighter than the tree, but I kind of want it to be a little darker. I want it to be darker than the background. And I'm not highlighting the whole tree. I'm just kind of working on the edge that the light is hitting. So you can kind of see that the tree is a little twisted. It's a little gnarly, but the winters are very harsh where this lake is, and so the trees do get a little twisted. Then when I get down here, I put just one little streak, one little vertical streak in the water. Up until the time I complete it, everything I put in the water is vertical. Okay, so now I'm going to go, I'll get this second tree. This one has a nice leading edge into the light. And one of the things I want to do here, I think, is I want a little stronger highlights, I think. Not totally certain yet, but I think I want stronger highlights down here at the bottom. Because I want the viewer, I want to draw the viewer from here over into this area down here. I don't want to push the viewer off the canvas. I'm already kind of pushing the viewer off the canvas this way. I don't want to do it vertically also. Now I'll coming here to another tree. And see, I'm letting go of control. Down this area down in here, I don't want to have a lot of individual trees. I want the light kind of randomly streaking through and hitting little bits of various trees. So now I'll hit this one. And I think if I want this tree to step back, I'll stop my highlights right in there. I think I want to running out of yellow, and then I'll hit this. And now I'm getting down into the area where these are my leading edges up here. These trees back in here are back more in shadow. So what I'm going to do with these trees is now I've wiped out my brush. Now I'm mixing a cool green. And I'm mixing it a little bit darker. And let's see, I need a little more blue in there, a little mud. I want cool colors down in here. Also, when I get back in here, I'm lighting the back side of the tree. I'm not worrying about the leading edge of the tree again, but the back side, the side that gets reflected light. Because cast light isn't penetrating down here into the forest. Okay, so now I'm looking at it, and I think I would like to draw a little more attention over here. So now I'm going to throw a little more warm yellow, tiny bit of red, and try to get a little more attention over into here. Okay, I think, yeah, and then I need to just streak a few areas of some of these lighter greens down here in the water. Now, see, at this point, I can almost forget that I'm painting over an old painting. The new painting has now taken over to the point where I've completely forgotten what is underneath this painting. Now I should probably hit this this first tree just a little more. And see, I'm not trying to really paint realistic trees. I'm just trying to get some rhythms. Now I've got to have some tree trunks. So I'm taking some cool mud, some cool yellow and cool red. These trees are really dark. The green trees really absorb a lot of light. And what I'm going to do now, these tree trunks will be a little bit lighter. Put a little bit more, light these up just a little more. And so what I want to do is I want to get just the idea of some tree trunks coming down through here. And my tree trunks don't even really have to line up with the trees. See, especially back in here where now I've got a lot less paint in my brush, but I'm continuing to paint. So see, I want my lightest, brightest tree trunks out in here. Now this one is feeling kind of awkward right here, but I think I can save it. Now, one of the things I want to do is put a few little branchy brush strokes in this. And I think, let's see, now I'm going to get back into some of my warm greens, and I'm going to throw a few of these highlights over some of the areas of these trunks so that it looks like there's some branchy things, some green coming over the fronts of some of those tree trunks. I think I need another, let's see, I'm going to bring one down here. Now what I want, the rhythms I want with these tree trunks is I want a cluster of them, and then they can, I think I need a wider space here. I want a cluster of tree trunks, and then I want them to kind of randomly space out. I want to keep most of my interest right in this area of the painting. Okay, so now I think I've got my forest pretty much done. I think the viewer can probably take it from here. Let me touch up a few little things there. Now I'm going to get into some of this kind of muddy purple, and I want to just play with some of this. I don't want to have just a flat edge around the bottom of this forest. I want to have some areas. See, I can go through with just some horizontal brushwork and make it look as though you can see back into the forest in some areas. I got a shadow going over that way. Then let's see. Over here, I'm gonna take some white, some yellow, a little red, some more yellow. Now I want some light kind of hitting this area right here. I think I'm going to knock it down with a little bit of red. So see, before when I was laying this out, I laid it out with cool colors. See, now I just want to have some nice bright warms kind of coming out, so that light out here is hitting that part of the shoreline. I'm going to brighten some of this up a little bit too. Now I'm going to go back to my cool, because I'm getting kind of back, I'm getting away from the light. This is still light kind of streaking back into here, but it's really cooling down as it comes. I want to draw the viewer to right in here. Okay, so now I've finished my sky, then I finished the mountain, then I finished the background trees, then I finished the foreground trees, then I finished this area of shoreline. I could put a little orange in there. Let's put a little, let's see here, because that could, sometimes that'll work, sometimes kind of the rust sort of a color for the, down just a little bit. I think it needs, I'm going to try some with maybe some of this cooler color, see if I can get more of a rust. You mean like that kind of the blister rust of it's going all through Idaho trees, make them look a little more realistic. Yeah, just along that leading edge then.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if I got that in there, then I'm going to just throw a little bit of that color. Everything I put up there, I just kind of need to have down here. Now, one of the things that's important to have in the water is thick paint. You want thick paint in the water. All this vertical stuff needs to be thick, because now I'm going to come over it with horizontal brush strokes. I'm going to come over it with horizontal brush strokes to create the surface tension of the water. So now, let's see here. I think I'm going to take a combination of warm and cool blue and a whole lot of white. let's see. I wanted. No, I don't think I want that. That's gonna. I think, and I don't want the sky color. I'm gonna have to do something pretty light. I've got this blue, but I may put a little bit of red in it. I want to get maybe wind hitting this far side of the lake. I wanted to find. Yeah, that's working. See, I can't do it. Normally I would do this with warm blue and white, but with this painting I can't because the sky is not warm blue. Let's see here. I'm gonna just a little bit lighter than that and see if I can. And see if what I'm doing here. That's too bright, but I'll knock this down a little bit. But see, one of the things I do want is I want the surface tension back here. I want it to get lighter. I don't want to draw the viewer off the canvas. So one of the things I'm going to do here, I've got it brighter here. I'm going to draw a little bit of that so you can see the water through the trees, and that helps to create some more interest here that the viewer can that can help the viewer look at the painting. Okay, so now most of the sky is purple, so I'm going to try. I haven't done this before, but I'm going to try mixing up some purple, some cool purple. And what I'm going to do here is, and I'm pretty much ignoring the reference photo at this point, and to get realistic water, it's pretty easy to get realistic water by having all your reflections with vertical brush strokes and then cross them with horizontal to get the surface tension of the water. And when I get over into here, a lot of times I don't even really need much paint in my brush. All I need is to blur these, is to go across them a bit. And reflections they stay somewhat intact at the top, but they blur more and more as they go down. There's not too bad of water. So now, I'll reiterate again. I've finished the sky first, the background mountain, the background trees, the foreground trees, the foreground, the water, and now I have to do this stuff here in the foreground, the foreground. So I'm going to I'm taking some cool yellow, cool red, a little white, and I want to play with this just a little more. I can get the illusion of there's some grasses and things here. If I have grasses, I want a combination of horizontal and vertical brush strokes. I don't want to have just uniform grasses and plants across. I want to have a combination of vertical and horizontal things. And I don't want to finish anything. Now I think I'm going to try just taking some warm yellow and working a little bit of warm yellow into this. And then also, I'm going to take some of this, taking some white. This yellow in the sky is really kind of muted. I want white with some warm yellow and warm red. And right over in here, I think I'm going to try to, I don't want to draw too much attention over here, but I do want to have just a little bit of that sky color reflecting across. And rather than coming straight down, I'm going to bring it into the painting. And let's see, I think it looks like I maybe need a little more something right in here. And I think I'm done. One of the things you have to watch out for with painting is not to finish the painting. What you want to watch for is the 20-minute zone. 20-minute zone is when you've been painting for 20 minutes and you know when you should have quit. You don't ever take any area of your painting all the way to completion. If you want to take anything to completion, just do just the area, like this area right here, my center of interest, that, I could do a few more things in there. I could put a campfire and a fisherman and a tent, and I could do some things to really make this pop as a center of attention. But right now I kind of like the balance of everything. So I think I'm going to leave it right there.